Hello everyone, and welcome to PropWay. So as you can see by the title and the thumbnail of this video and by this weapon that I'm holding in my hand, it's not really a weapon, it's a foam scepter. Today's video is going to be a tutorial on how I made Loki's Scepter from the Avengers. And just to knock it out of the way right now, there are two versions of the scepter in the movie. There's the short version and there is the long version. Obviously this video will be on the short version. And the short version is what he uses in the beginning of the first Avengers movie when he mind controls Clint Barton. And it's also what he uses when he tries to mind control Tony Stark. And I actually like the small version a little better because it's more compact. It's easier to build, but really it's just a lot easier to put on display and to carry around. And I think it actually came out very nicely. I really wish this showed up in the TV series Loki. I don't think it did, but it's one of his coolest weapons and it was a very highly requested prop from you guys, so here it is. So majority of the scepter is actually just EVA foam with the exception of the main part of the handle, which is a PVC pipe. And I will be posting a template in the description of the bigger pieces like the main blade and also these layered pieces right here. And this can absolutely be built out of cardboard instead of foam if that's what you choose to do. So without further ado, let's get on with the build. I just spit. So the main handle is just a 1-inch PVC pipe, as you can see here. And I'm just freehand sketching on a piece of foam some of the details that will go on the handle. So this piece will just wrap around onto the pipe, and I use some contact cement to secure that in place. And I just base all of these designs off of some reference photos, so it may not be exact because I'm freehanding it, but it should be pretty close. So on the scepter, you'll notice that the handle has a bit of a curvature that goes towards the end, just like this. So I'm going to be stacking some pieces of foam towards the end, and this will give it a nice little angle once you wrap it. Here I'm just freehanding a little bit more of the details. And I kind of just trace it out so I know where to put the contact cement. And the reason I use contact cement is so that I can get these nice tight seams right here. As you can see, there's not really any gap. If you use hot glue, you might notice a bit of a gap, but contact cement works perfect for this. And now I'm just adding some more details on the handle. This will go at the very bottom just like this and wrap around. And I just secure that in place with some contact cement. Now because I used a thin foam, unfortunately you can see the outline of the foam underneath. So I just fixed this by adding another layer right on top of it, and you should get a nice smooth surface like this. So now moving to the other end of the scepter, I'm just going to be sketching out some of the details and some of the layering that goes near the blade. And here I'm just cutting off a piece of the pipe just to get the right length. And here you can see I'm just sketching out some of the layers. And because it is layered, this piece will get glued underneath that first layer. And you want to glue it at an angle like this to make sure you get a nice curvature. And I'm just securing this in with hot glue. Here I'm just freehanding the main blade of the scepter. And I'm cutting it out with an X-Acto knife. For this part, you want to make sure you're cutting it at an angle like this, and I will show you why in just a second. So once you have that cut out, you want to set it down and you will be tracing that. Again, you want to cut it out at an angle. And the reason for the bevel is so that when you put the pieces together like this, you'll have a nice little blade edge. As you can see here, it gives a nice little detail to the blade and makes it a little more three-dimensional. So now you want to take your contact cement and glue these pieces together. Again, contact cement will give you a nice tight seam and won't show any gap in between those two pieces. And at this point, this is what you should have. So now adding that third layer, I'm just cutting out these triangles. And using some contact cement, they will get glued in directly to the blade. And you should have something like this. Now I just use some hot glue to make sure these pieces stay nice and tight and stuck together. Here's where you should be at this point. Now sketching out the bottom part of the blade. This piece will get contact cemented right to that PVC pipe. And I'm using this cardboard tube that will get glued in right there at an angle. So you want to cut off a short length. And I use hot glue to secure it in right here. And here I just finish off gluing that bottom blade to this tube. Here's just another detail that will get glued to the blade with some contact cement. And again, just freehand sketching some more details that get glued to the back of the scepter. And here I'm just drawing some detail lines onto the scepter. And again, one of my favorite techniques is I just use an X-Acto knife to kind of score it. I don't cut all the way through. And then I use a heat gun to heat it up, and it should open up those lines and give you nice details. So before I paint, I just brush on Mod Podge to the entire scepter. And now I just use some spray primer to cover the entire scepter. You only need to do 1 or 2 layers of primer, but just make sure you cover the entire scepter. And now I'm using this gold spray paint to spray paint the handle. So while that's drying, we're going to work on the light. And here I just use a clear glass Christmas ornament and some blue Elmer's glue. And I brush that Elmer's glue onto the ornament, and that will act as our light bulb. And while that's drying, I brush on some silver acrylic paint to the blade. You can also spray paint this, but it would have been a lot of taping and masking, so I decided brushing it on would be easier. Now to attach the light bulb, I used this corrugated tubing, which looks close to what's actually used on the real Scepter. I used these LEDs that I wired together, and I separated the two leads, the positive and the negative. So you just want to stick the LEDs into the bulb and then hot glue it in. And now you want to take your tubing, thread your wires through, and then you just want to glue it to the edge of that bulb. You can use super glue or hot glue. I used some speaker wire as an extension for the LED leads. And here I'm just threading it through the tube of the scepter. Now to power the light, I just use a 9-volt battery. And I wire a 9-volt battery connector to the speaker wire leads. And once you connect the battery, your LEDs should light up. And now you can just tuck in your wires into the tubing and use some double-sided tape to secure the 9-volt battery into place. And here is the final product. Thank you guys for watching that tutorial. I hope you guys learned something and try it out for yourself. As you saw in the end of that tutorial, the one kind of thing that I probably could have done better on was this end handle. As you can see, there's a very exposed 9-volt battery. I thought this foam handle piece was going to be big enough to cover it all, and then I would just add a cover to it, but as you can see, it kind of pops out a little bit. But overall, I think this came out very nicely and will look beautiful as a display piece. Also, if you plan to use any of the materials that I use in this video, you can look in the description and see some links to Amazon. Again, thank you guys for watching. As always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. There's so much more coming. I can't even tell you how much more is coming, but there's a lot. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next video. Bye. Okay, so I forgot to mention this, but on my Instagram, I had a little contest where I asked you guys to guess what prop I was building with a little picture of a sneak peek of it. And I said if you guessed it correct, I would give you a shout out in this video. And there was a lot of correct answers, and I didn't realize there'd be that many. So I don't have time in this video to shout out each of your names, but here is a little clip showing all of the correct answers and some of the incorrect answers. Here it is. Make sure to follow my Instagram at PropWay. I will definitely be doing more mini contests like this. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.